Liquid fire in the dark. Churches carved into the earth. Cliffs above the clouds. Markets that move like storms. Predators waiting at night. Coffee returning to the land where it began. And a silence so old, it feels like it remembers us. This is Ethiopia. Not the Ethiopia of assumptions. Not the Ethiopia reduced to headlines, fragments, or distance. The Ethiopia you feel in your lungs, under your feet, in your chest. A country you do not simply visit. A country you enter. And maybe that's the first shock. Because for so many people, Ethiopia still lives as an idea more than a destination, a name, a location, a vague image. But once you arrive, that image breaks. The land rises harder than expected. The history goes deeper than expected. The atmosphere feels older than expected. And the beauty never arrives in just one form. Here, beauty can be sacred or volcanic. It can be quiet as prayer or loud as a market. It can sit in a cup of coffee or open beneath you in a crater full of lava. This is not a country that gives you one emotion and stays there. It keeps shifting. Wonder, pressure, stillness, impact, reverence, heat, altitude, human intensity. And that's what makes it unforgettable. Because Ethiopia doesn't flatter you with easy beauty. It changes shape in front of you, again and again. And if you think you know what Ethiopia looks like, wait until you see what it feels like. The first surprise arrives before the city even does. You look out of the plane window and the land doesn't flatten toward the horizon. It rises. Plateaus, ridges, highland folds in the earth that already hint at how vertical this country can feel. Then you land in Addis Ababa. One of the highest capitals in the world, and the air tells you immediately that you are somewhere different. Cooler than expected, thinner than expected, sharper than expected. Addis does not open like a polished tourist postcard. It opens like a real city, layered, contradictory, alive. Driving through Addis is not an intro. It is an initiation. You move through traffic that never seems fully still, past cranes and concrete, past roadside cafes and church walls, past glass buildings, hillside neighborhoods, street vendors, eucalyptus, dust, and sudden glimpses of elegance hiding inside raw urban movement. This city does not perform simplicity. It gives you motion. And motion is the right way to begin Ethiopia, because this country is not going to reveal itself in one clean line. It's going to arrive in textures. The first thing you notice is that Addis is not frozen in the past. That matters. A lot of people still approach Ethiopia through inherited distance, as if it belongs more to history than to the present. But Addis disrupts that instantly. The city is modern and unfinished, creative and pressured, restless and grounded. There are luxury hotels, there are rough roads, there are nightclubs, jazz bars, construction booms, old churches, crowded streets, ambitious young people, and neighborhoods that feel like they're being reinvented in real time. That contradiction is not a flaw. It is the pulse. You roll the window down. The city comes in all at once. Taxi horns, Voices. The metallic clink of cups in a cafe. A song leaking out of a passing minibus. The smell of fuel, coffee, dust, and morning air. A priest in white moves through the street with quiet certainty. A child in school uniform slips through traffic as if the city has taught balance from birth. A woman arranges bread with careful hands. Nothing pauses because you are here, and that gives Addis its authority. It does not exist for the visitor. It exists for itself. That is why it feels real. And real places stay longer. But Addis doesn't just introduce the country through movement. It introduces it through ritual. And that ritual changed the world. Before the mountains, before the rock-hewn churches, before the deserts, the volcanoes, the castles, the waterfalls, you sit down for coffee. And in Ethiopia, that is not a small thing. This is not coffee as urgency, not coffee as fuel, not coffee as something carried out the door with one hand while the day runs ahead of you. Here, coffee is a moment you enter. The beans roast over charcoal. You hear the crackle. You smell the smoke before the cup ever reaches your hand. Fresh grass is spread across the floor. Incense rises into the room. Conversation slows to the speed of presence. And that shift can hit hard, because in a culture built on acceleration, this ceremony feels almost radical. Nothing is rushed. Nothing is disposable. Nothing says, take this and go. Instead, the moment asks you to stay, to smell, to wait, to receive. And then comes the deeper truth inside it. This is where coffee began. One of the most familiar drinks in America begins here, in Ethiopian highlands, in Ethiopian culture, in Ethiopian ritual. That changes the cup. It gives it origin. It gives it memory. It gives it gravity. You lift the cup. You taste it. And suddenly, something ordinary becomes intimate. The distance between global habit and local origin disappears. And that is one of Ethiopia's gifts. It keeps taking things you think you understand and returning them to depth. In Ethiopia, coffee is not just served. It is honored. But Ethiopia is not only ceremony and calm. Step outside, and the whole rhythm detonates. Mercado is not a market you casually stroll through. Mercado is a current, and once you step into it, you are moving inside the economic heartbeat of Addis. This is one of the largest open-air markets in Africa, and it does not reveal itself gently. It hits all at once. Voices colliding, wheelbarrows forcing their way through impossible gaps, metal hitting metal, fabric catching light, sacks of coffee stacked beside electronics, produce, shoes, plastic goods, spices, cookware, tools, entire livelihoods arranged inside corridors of movement. Walking through Mercado means adjusting instantly. You step aside. You speed up. You narrow your path. You read the energy around you. You feel negotiation happening in a glance. You feel urgency, improvisation, memory, instinct. Nothing here is passive. That's what makes it cinematic. Not because it's quiet and beautiful. Because it's alive enough to push against you. Mercado is pressure. Mercado is rhythm. Mercado is a city speaking at full volume. And now you understand something essential. Ethiopia is not one mood. It is not only ancient stillness and highland silence, it is also energy, hustle, density, collision, heat in human form. Some places calm you down. Mercado reminds you that being alive is noisy. Then, just when the noise peaks, Ethiopia does something unexpected. It opens a door into deep time. At the National Museum, the tempo drops. The room cools. Sound fades. Your eyes adjust from the raw movement of Mercado to the calm of controlled light and preserved history. And then you arrive at Lucy. Small, still, behind glass, one of the most important fossils ever discovered. And the power of that moment is not visual spectacle, it's perspective. Because suddenly, Ethiopia stops being only a destination. It becomes one of the places where the human story reaches furthest back. This is not symbolic, it is literal. Some of our deepest origins run through this land. You stand there and the timeline of travel collapses. You are no longer just moving through another country. You are standing close to one of humanity's oldest traces of itself. That changes the tone of the journey, because now every landscape ahead feels slightly deeper, slightly older, slightly more charged. You don't just visit Ethiopia. At moments like this, you feel humanity looking back at you. And from here, the country opens. Upward first, into cliffs, altitude, and a kind of silence that feels almost impossible. Driving toward the Simien Mountains feels like the land is gathering force. The roads climb, the air cools. The horizon begins to fracture into ridges, cliffs, deep valleys, and vast drops that seem too dramatic to belong to the same planet as the city you left behind. Then you stop the car, you step out, and suddenly, Ethiopia becomes physical in a new way. This is not just looking at mountains. This is walking along escarpments where the world falls away beneath you. This is hiking ridgelines above the clouds. This is feeling wind push against your body while distance opens in every direction. In the Simien Mountains, scale is not background. It is the experience. You walk narrow trails with cliffs dropping into shadow. You stop because the view is too large to process while moving. You feel the altitude in your chest. You hear the wind, your footsteps, and sometimes almost nothing else. That kind of silence changes people because it shrinks all the noise you carried in with you. And then, as if the landscape weren't enough, life moves through it in forms found almost nowhere else. Gelada monkeys spread across the plateau. At first, they seem calm, almost peaceful, grazing in groups as if the mountain belongs entirely to them. Then one lifts its head, a flash of teeth, a red chest, a sudden note of tension, and there it is again, the Ethiopian rhythm, beauty, then edge, stillness, then alertness. The Simien Mountains do not comfort you with softness. They give you all with altitude inside it, a beauty you feel in your knees, your lungs, your balance, your breath. And that is why these mountains stay with people, because they are not only scenic, they are immersive. Earned. In the Simien Mountains, even silence has gravity. But Ethiopia is not finished lifting you upward. It is about to pull you down. Into rock, into shadow, into one of the deepest spiritual spaces on earth. Lalibela is one of those rare places that becomes more powerful the closer you get to it. From a distance, it does not announce itself loudly. A highland town, dusty roads, simple homes, a sense of ordinary life continuing without any need for introduction. And then the ground opens. That is the genius of Lalibela. You do not arrive at it all at once. You descend into it. Walking through Lalibela means leaving daylight in layers. You move toward trenches cut into stone. You descend narrow corridors. You pass through rock passageways. You turn corners where the temperature drops and your footsteps begin to echo. And then, suddenly, architecture appears where architecture should not be. Not built on top of the land, carved out of it. This is what makes Lalibela extraordinary. You are not looking at churches placed into a landscape. You are walking inside churches carved into the earth itself. That difference changes everything. It changes the feeling. It changes the emotional weight of every moment. Then comes Beit Georgis. You first see it from above, a cross-shaped church cut perfectly into the rock. One of those images so strong it feels designed by myth. But the experience doesn't end with the reveal. You circle it, you descend toward it, you stand beside it, you feel the walls rise around you. And the more levels you move through, the more impossible the place becomes. From above, it feels iconic. From below, intimate. Inside the surrounding trenches, almost secret. But the deepest power of Lalibela is not visual alone, it's atmospheric. You hear prayer in low voices. You hear fabric brushing ancient stone. You smell dust, incense, age, devotion. You watch priests carry crosses and manuscripts through spaces still alive with worship. That word matters. Alive. Because Lalibela is not a dead monument. It is not a fossil of faith. It is faith still moving, still practiced, still held, still inherited. Even if you are not religious, it can be overwhelming. Not in a loud way, in a deep way. Because places like this remind you that human beings have always needed meaning strong enough to carve into stone. In Lalibela, faith was not placed on the earth, it was driven into it. And just when Ethiopia feels most inward, most sacred, most silent, it changes again. Now the story rises into power. Castles, empire, stone built to be seen. If someone tells you there are castles in Ethiopia, that alone changes the picture. And Gondar uses that surprise perfectly. Because after Lalibela, castles feel almost impossible. Yet here they stand. Royal compounds, towers, fortified walls, arches and halls built not for hidden devotion, but for visible authority. Walking through Gondar means crossing courtyards where power once staged itself in stone. You move under arches. You pass through old chambers. You look up at walls built to endure. And immediately, the tone is different from Lalibela. There, the sacred pulls you downward. Here, power rises outward. Declared architectural confidence instead of spiritual excavation. That contrast gives the journey range. It tells you something important. Ethiopia is not one historical mood. It contains empire as well as prayer, visibility as well as mystery. And if you are here during Timkat, Gondar explodes into one of the most visually powerful religious celebrations in the country. White garments flooding the streets, colorful umbrellas over priests, water, chant, incense, procession, devotion moving like a wave through the city. Not staged beauty, lived beauty, and that is always stronger. Some countries preserve history. Ethiopia still walks through it. Then, after castles and ceremony, the country softens. Water enters the story, and the mood changes completely. Lake Tana feels like a breath held at dawn. After cliffs, churches, and imperial stone, the water opens the story back up with softness. You take a boat across the lake. Mist hangs low. Birds cut across the surface. Monasteries sit on islands and peninsulas like memory anchored in stillness. The experience here is slower, more suspended. You step onto quiet shorelines. You enter spaces where paintings, manuscripts, and centuries of devotion remain protected from the pace of the outside world. Lake Tana is not trying to overwhelm you. It is letting you recover. Then you move toward the blue Nile Falls. And slowly, the atmosphere tightens. The path grows damp. Sound begins as a murmur, then a roar. Mist rises through the trees, and suddenly the falls are there. Wide, bright, violent, water exploding over rock with enough force to change the air around it. This is not a waterfall you simply photograph and move on from. This is a waterfall you feel. Spray on your face. Sound in your ribs. The force of water turning landscape into impact. And beneath that, beauty is another truth. This river becomes one of the great waterways in the history of civilizations. So again, Ethiopia does what it keeps doing. It gives you a place that is beautiful on the surface, then reveals that the depth underneath is much larger. In Ethiopia, even a waterfall feels like the beginning of a story. And then comes the hardest visual turn in the entire journey, because the next landscape doesn't soothe. It confronts. The Danakil Depression is not a place that welcomes you with comfort. It hits you with exposure, heat, light, mineral color. The immediate sense that the earth here is not finished becoming itself. Just arriving in Danakil feels extreme. Then you step out, and the body understands before the mind does. This is one of the hottest places on earth. The sun presses down with real force. The horizon shimmers. The ground looks chemically alive. Walking through Danakil means crossing cracked salt, stepping over mineral crusts, passing sulfur vents that hiss and smoke, standing over pools stained yellow, green, orange, rust red, white, colors so vivid they almost look artificial. But nothing here is artificial. That is what makes the landscape so shocking. It feels like visual science fiction, yet it is fully real. This is not a place for passive sightseeing. You feel it through the soles of your feet, in the squint of your eyes, in the dryness of your mouth, in the way the air itself seems hostile to stillness. And then, inside all that geological violence, human labor appears. Men cutting salt by hand, camels moving across the flats, a caravan line against the horizon. That is one of the most powerful images in all of Ethiopia. Because the Danakil Depression is not just an otherworldly visual event. It is also a lived landscape, worked, crossed, endured. That human presence changes the emotion of the place completely. It stops being alien scenery. It becomes a relationship between people and one of the harshest environments on Earth. In Danakil, the planet doesn't look stable. It looks awake. And then the sun goes down, which should make things calmer. Instead, it makes them far more intense. If Danakil is the planet exposed, Erta Ale is the planet breathing. You begin in darkness, headlamps cutting thin lines over black volcanic ground, footsteps on rough rock, wind, silence, expectation. Then the glow appears. Faint at first, then stronger. Orange rising out of the dark like the earth itself is remembering fire. You keep walking, and then you reach the rim. A lava lake, open, moving, bursting, a living surface of liquid rock. This is one of the rarest travel experiences on Earth, not because it photographs well, because it feels primal. You are standing at the edge of something older than language. Heat hits your face. Dark crust shifts and cracks. Orange light pulses upward through black. The whole crater looks alive, not metaphorically, literally. And in that moment, no explanation is needed. No history lesson. No context. Just presence. Raw, volcanic, immediate, overwhelming. Some places impress you. Erta Ale strips you down to awe. And after that much fire, the journey does something brilliant. It cools, it widens, it gives you silence again. The Bale Mountains are not there to shock you. They are there to reset you. After the Danakil heat, after the lava, after that sensory overload of mineral color and fire in the dark, Bale feels like the country exhaling. Cool air, wide plateaus, mist moving low across open land. Giant lobelias rising from the ground like plants left behind by another age. Driving through Bale means entering a quieter emotional register. The road stretches through the Sineti Plateau under a sky so large it changes the scale of thought. No crowd, no monumental facade, no pressure to react, only space. And sometimes space is the experience. You stop the car, you listen to wind, you watch clouds drag shadow across the plateau, and then, if the moment gives itself to you, something moves in the distance. An Ethiopian wolf, slender, red gold, precise against the pale land. The sighting is brief, unannounced, almost fragile. And that is exactly why it can feel so powerful. Not every unforgettable moment arrives with impact. Some arrive softly, then stay longer. That is Bale. Not noise, not spectacle. Presence in low volume. Bale doesn't ask for your attention. It quiets you until you give it. And once the country has taken you from lava to silence, it turns back toward people. Toward identity. Toward encounter. The Omo Valley is often shown through its visuals alone. And yes, visually, it can be extraordinary. Adornment, hairstyles, scar patterns, beadwork, body paint, faces that hold the eye with incredible force. But if that is all you see, you lose the truth. Because the Omo Valley is not an aesthetic museum for outsiders, it is home to real people, real communities, real change, real pressure, real continuity, real dignity. So the stronger way to experience this part of Ethiopia is not just to look, it is to arrive with respect, to notice presence before appearance, to feel the difference between witnessing and consuming. You stand in villages. You hear conversations you cannot fully follow. You watch children run through dust at the edge of evening. You see hands preparing food, animals moving in and out of daily life, laughter interrupting seriousness. A returned gaze that reminds you the encounter is not one-directional. That returned gaze matters, because travel at its best is not extraction. It is recognition, and the Omo Valley gives the journey another form of depth, not landscape, not monument, human complexity. The real power of the Omo Valley is not what you collect from it. It is what it asks you to reconsider. Then the frame tightens again, from open valley to wall city, from human encounter to atmosphere, memory, and night tension. Harar changes the scale of the journey. After vast mountains and open valleys, it pulls you inward, into walls, into alleys, into detail. This is a city best experienced on foot. You enter through old gates. You move through narrow lanes where light catches painted walls and bold doorways. You pass homes layered with color and interiors decorated with hanging baskets. You feel closeness here, texture, a different rhythm of urban life. And Harar matters for another reason. It adds another spiritual layer to Ethiopia's identity. Because Ethiopia is not religiously singular, Christianity runs deep here. So does Islam. And Harar carries that heritage with clarity. Mosques, scholarship, sacred history. Another thread in a country that keeps refusing simplification. Then night arrives. And with it, one of the strangest experiences in the country, the hyena feeding. You wait in the dark, the air tightens. You hear movement before you see it. Then eyes catch the light, low, reflective, still. A hyena steps closer. Then another. Bone cracks. Jaws close. The ancient distance between city and wilderness narrows to almost nothing. This is not just spectacle. It is tension. Real physical tension. And it works because Harar gives you beauty first. Then unease. Light first. Then instinct. In Harar, even the night feels like it's watching you back. At some point, every country stops being its landmarks and starts becoming its atmosphere, its table, its gestures, its sounds after sunset, its habits in the morning, its way of making space for people. In Ethiopia, that shift is one of the best parts of the whole journey. You sit down to injera, a large round base spread across the tray. Stews, lentils, vegetables layered over it. You tear with your hands, you scoop, you share. This is not just tasting food. It is entering a social rhythm, a way of eating built around nearness, hospitality, collective presence. And the flavors matter because they do not flatten themselves into generic familiarity. They taste rooted, distinct, like somewhere specific. And then there is the music. Ethio Jazz After Dark in Addis. A room with low light, a sound that feels smoky, hypnotic, elegant, a little off-center in the best way. Traditional scales bending through modern arrangements. Memory and invention in the same room. That matters because it breaks another assumption. Ethiopia is not only ancient, it is contemporary too. Creative, stylish, evolving, still making culture, not only preserving it. The past is everywhere in Ethiopia. But so is the pulse of right now. Now comes the part that gives the entire journey weight, because Ethiopia is beautiful. But beauty here is not always easy. Travel can be demanding, roads can be long, altitude can hit hard, heat can become punishing. Schedules may not move the way some travelers expect, and current conditions always matter when planning where and how to go. That truth should not weaken the dream, it should strengthen it. Because the strongest journeys are not always the smoothest one. They are the ones that make you present, the ones that ask something from you: patience, humility, respect, adaptability, attention. Ethiopia gives back immensely, but it asks you to arrive honestly, not as a consumer waiting for convenience, as a traveler willing to meet a place on its own terms. That is increasingly rare. And rare things stay longer. Ethiopia does not flatten itself to fit expectation. That is part of its power. What makes Ethiopia unforgettable is not just that it is beautiful. It is that its beauty has range. Walking through one of Africa's most intense markets, sitting where coffee returns to ritual, standing near one of humanity's oldest known ancestors, hiking above the clouds in the Simien Mountains, descending into churches carved into the earth in Lalibela, crossing Imperial stone in Gondar, taking a boat across Lake Tana, feeling the spray of the blue Nile Falls, walking on sulfur-colored ground in the Danakil Depression, standing at the edge of liquid fire at Erta Ale, crossing the quiet plateaus of Bale, moving through the atmospheric alleys of Harar, sharing food by hand, hearing Ethio jazz after dark. This is not one travel experience. It is a whole range of emotional worlds inside one country. And that may be the most powerful thing about Ethiopia. It does not ask to be liked instantly. It asks to be felt deeply. Some destinations flatter the traveler. They give you exactly what you expected, exactly how you expected it. Ethiopia does something more lasting. It surprises you, then challenges you, then opens slowly, then suddenly gives you an image or a feeling that refuses to leave. A priest in white moving through stone, a hyena emerging from darkness, clouds below a mountain ridge, lava breathing in the night, a cup of coffee held a little more carefully than before, a road disappearing into highland light. That is when a country has entered you, not when you have seen a lot, when a few things remain, because the deepest journeys are not the ones that simply show you a new place. They are the ones that reveal how small your old map of the world really was. So now tell me, do you still see Ethiopia as just a distant name on a map? Or does it feel like one of those rare countries you need to experience for yourself? If this journey stayed with you, subscribe for more cinematic travel stories from extraordinary places around the world. Like the video and leave a comment telling me which part of Ethiopia you would want to experience first.